Heyo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and I want to finish this week of Disney by checking out another show that is highly praised, Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And again, I was pretty skeptical on this show, like many other shows that go on to become successes. I'm not a huge Disney XD guy, I should be. Before I started YouTube, I was a bigger fan of Boomerang and Nicktoons. They supplied my childhood favorites. However, the farther I go up this animation reviewing ladder, the less I should ignore one of the biggest names in animation. This, like Steven Universe, was created by a woman, this time being named. This, like Steven Universe, was created by a woman. I wouldn't be putting so much attention on it if it wasn't for the fact that after a decade and change, Disney television animation has only had 2 series created by women. Does the pilot match up to the hype? As we review Star vs., I would like to welcome my special collab guests for this review, the one and only C.R. Martin.
Greetings and salutations everyone, I'm the one and only C.R. Martin. First of all, let me say what a pleasure it is to be here today to talk about a show alongside you, Alpha J, and not just any show, but one as wonderful as Star vs. the Forces of Evil. So, shall we begin?
Let's begin. Before we begin, I do want to give a shout out to these comments here. I really do appreciate the kind words. This episode starts off in an area called Muni. We get this princess here named Star, and she's the outlier because she doesn't want to do what normal princesses do. Textbook subversion. The art style for this planet is simple, but gets the job done. It isn't anything I wouldn't see outside of other cartoons doing a fantasy world, however. But what I do like, besides the performance of Star's voice actor, is the fact that this episode gets right to the punch. She's wild, she's reckless, she's passionate. I do appreciate that, especially in a pilot.
Now, Star, this wand is a big responsibility. If it falls into the hands of evil forces, the universe could be destroyed.
How can you not like this character?
But sometimes, one's greatest merits can also be their biggest undoing. As far as Star is concerned, she is too wild, reckless, and passionate to take up the mantle of ruling her kingdom. It gets so bad that she even nearly destroys said kingdom, which prompts her parents to take action.
So her parents send her away as punishment. But it isn't for St. Olga's Reform School for Wayward Princesses, which apparently is a very bad place to be. Rather, it's Earth, because science fiction, and with a quick cut of, well, air, she's off to another dimension. I will say that it's less than 3 minutes in and we're introduced to quite a lot. The pace seems to be very quick and smooth. It never feels like any particular scene drags on.
As an aspiring author myself, I have to say that these are signs of competent world building. Right off the bat, this episode gives us bits and pieces of its mythos in manageable doses so that no other aspect is overtaken. For instance, we see the dimensional scissors and their use, as well as the manticores that pull the coach with the butterfly family in it, without too much attention being drawn to them. Zack Snyder, I hope you're taking notes.
So the parents of Star barter their way into sending Star into high school, and she gets paired up with this guy. His name is Marco Diaz, and he's known as the safest kid in school, according to an apparently school-wide vote. It's even common knowledge to the staff.
Whatever you heard about me isn't true. I don't know where people get the idea I'm so safe. Oh, watch your step, loose tile. Careful. Oh, broken glass. Frankly, I like taking risks.
But despite supposedly having at least a mild degree of obsessive-compulsive disorder, Marco harbors a thirst for excitement and adventure in his life. Of course, wanting excitement and adventure doesn't strictly mean wanting to associate with a person from a different dimension, especially one as eccentric as Star Butterfly. Kinda like a babysitter rage quitting from taking care of a hyperactive child.
The contrast of Marco saying what he says with how he acts is very funny. I find it very creative when the writers exhibit character development while moving the plot. So Marco returns to his house and finds Star. Apparently Star is living with Marco, and his family accepts her with open arms. We get someone who might be evil spying on Star, and we get to start a few patterns that will escalate. First, we have this guy who looks like one of those newborn birds that pop out of their egg to be fed by their mommy, but never get fed or bathed because there's no mommy. His name is Ludo. He's a pretty good antagonist. He's written comedic, and the material given to him works well, especially in this pilot.
Actually, just to briefly correct you on something, Jay, Ludo is not exactly a bird, but a creature from Japanese folklore, known as a kappa, or a water imp. Then again, that's not really gonna stop the fan art that depict him otherwise. Ludo and his henchmen have their eyes on the prize being Star's wand. How much do you want to bet that they fail miserably? I'll wager $100.
So Star gets introduced to her room. She turns it into a dream room with multiple floors. And if I had a room like that, this would be my full-time job. I'd be posting daily all the time. But we can dream. Marco wants to have the same type, but ends up having a room that sucks. Literally.
Suck? Suck? Why was the word suck in that spell?
Not the first time it's happened on Disney's animated shows. Yin Yang Yo, anyone? But all joking aside, the fact that Marco was able to last this long is one hell of a feat in and of itself. Lesser men would have been broken far sooner. But really, would you blame them? If I had to take in a person from a dimension different from my own, of course I'd be overwhelmed.
So Marco falls back first into cacti, and Star starts to feel guilty for her actions. We're starting to see a few more patterns, such as Star getting too excited for her own good, and Marco not really getting used to what seems like what he will be dealing with from this point on. We then get Marco acting like a crazy person outside of what looks like one of those convenience stores. I found it very funny the first time around, watching him spaz out around fellow citizens. Star then explains that she didn't really get an option to come to Earth, and Marco didn't get an option when dealing with her, and right before it gets too sappy, she meets these enemies here.
Well, things just went from bad to worse. Star might be able to use that wand competently, but with this many cronies and having to protect a mere human, I don't see how this could possibly turn out alright for our heroes. There's strength in numbers and all, and there's no way that...
You can fight?
What is... I don't... Jay, if you please.
Yeah, who knew this safe kid could be so dangerous? I didn't, and the episode didn't really show it. I guess that's the twist.
You said she was unguarded.
Of course your henchman didn't know, because he never showed it. For what it is, the fight scene is pretty good. It's a lot more creative than, let's say, Teen Titans Go or Uncle Grandpa. It also has a unique style that only the bright, poppy attitude of Star can deliver.
After Star and Marco come out on top against... well, let's face it, lopsided odds in their favor, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And by beautiful friendship, I mean the unhealthy obsession with turning them into a romantic item. But we are not gonna talk about that. What we can talk about though is that this episode is a pleasant subversion, if not an outright deconstruction, of pre-existing tropes and practices in different genres, specifically the magical girl genre. The fact that certain aspects of these genres that aren't usually called into question are given actual ramifications here, underneath a supposedly by-the-numbers guise, is what gives Star vs. the Forces of Evil its own charming edge.
Well said. The episode ends on another joke, which I won't spoil, and that was the pilot of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Honestly, like with other Disney shows I've talked about this week, I should have visited these shows a lot earlier. I was skeptical, and although I heard a lot of good things about these series, they generally came from people who had ridiculous standards for what is considered good. I know it's not the best excuse, and I'm glad I know about them now, and I look forward to getting caught up, or in some cases like Gravity Falls, finish a series that was done months, even years ago, depending on when you hear this. That being said, I hope you all enjoyed this week of Disney, and I sure saved the best for last, which is why I had my good friend here, Martin, help me along the way.
It was a pleasure doing this with you, Jay. And personally, I'm happy that you gave these shows a look. Questionable business decisions aside, Wander, Disney's influence and charm within the animation realm still holds true to this day, and I hope that the rest of that charm will catch your eye in the future.
If you really like this video, I highly recommend you go check out Martin's channel. I personally recommend this video here. Also, if you really like my reviews on Disney, I have a specific playlist for it. Binge watch it. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a perfect time to subscribe because that button is right there looking at you. As always, I hope your time was well spent. And Alpha out.
And Martin